In 2023, two of the biggest tech giants have taken different routes to develop their flagship devices. Why don't we take the opportunity to compare the current flagships of these brands, the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Samsung S23 Ultra? Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Future Tech and like the video. First up, we will talk about the design. Samsung have given this phone a very distinct shape with sharp square edges and the iconic Samsung curved display. Even though this phone looks very similar to the Note generation of Samsung phones, Samsung has changed its design language quite a few times in the past. Also, this phone is made to have a different design than other Samsung S23 models to make it differentiable between the flagship and its lower models. This can be easily seen from the sales numbers. The S23 Ultra has 9 million units sold, while the S23 Plus has 3.3 million and base S23 with 6 million units sold. The addition of the curved display and S Pen, which other S23 models lack, makes the S23 Ultra look like a better deal. Apple, on the other hand, have had very similar designs since the iPhone X. However, each generation having some improvements: the bezels getting smaller, the sides become flatter, the phone change in the camera orientation, the addition of dynamic island are some of the changes that Apple made. The iPhone X was a good-looking phone, and having it as the base and improving it makes the current iPhone 15 Pro Max look absolutely gorgeous. The iPhone looks super modern, and the curved edges is making phone look more premium, and the titanium just looks fantastic. Unlike the S23 Ultra, the iPhone 15 Pro Max has similar design to the lower-end models and even similar looks to other Apple products. This means that the iPhone 15 Pro Max way more recognizable than the S23 Ultra. The symmetrical display just shows the attention to detail that Apple gives to its products. Also, the difference in design can be also seen in the way that these companies have integrated the front-facing camera. Samsung has a punch-hole design, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max has the dynamic island, which is much more usable than the punch-hole. Samsung S23 Ultra for me personally looks the best in phantom black, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max for me looks best in natural titanium. These colors are my favorite for these phones. Let me know in the comments, do you also like my choice of color? Design is a personal preference for each person, so one of these phones may look better for you. As this is a personal preference, we will give a point for both phones. Moving on to the next topic, we have the chipset. The S23 Ultra is powered by Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, while the iPhone 15 Pro Max has the A17 Pro Bionic chipset. If you compare the chipset, the A17 Pro is the world's only 3nm chip, most probably remain the only one for another year or two. A17 Pro is Apple's record breaker. It is completely blowing off all the Android phone because of its insane benchmarks. The chips in iPhones are quickly reaching M1 levels. Okay, you got an insane amount of power, but what could you do with it? The A16 was very quick and good for daily use. Well, Apple have the answer for this. Games like Assassin's Creed Mirage, Evil Residence 4, Evil Resident Village and Death Stranding are few games confirmed for the iPhone 15 Pro models. Most of these games are not even going to be a downscaled version. Few days ago we dived deep on video why gaming phones are pointless, link in description. As we said in the video how the flagship phones are not behind in terms of gaming performance. Now with the release of iPhone 15 Pro Max, it clearly shows the way in which flagship phones are going. For the S23 Ultra, it has very good gaming performance for mobile games, however when the optimization is not present and PC games enter, the A17 Pro is clearly in its league of its own. Don't forget the Apple's M1 chip is used in MacBooks, and the A17 Pro is not a long way behind. A17 is also more optimized with its operating software, which give even more significant advantage to Apple. This category definitely goes to Apple. Next category is display. S23 Ultra has a 6.8-inch AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, while the 15 Pro Max has a AMOLED XDR display with 120Hz refresh rate. The displays of these two phones are very close, however there are few differences which enable us to find a winner among these phones. Firstly, the iPhone 15 Pro Max has a brighter display than that of S23 Ultra, which means when the surrounding brightness increases, the advantage for iPhone increases. This causes us to read the texts in an iPhone 15 Pro Max easily than that of the Samsung S23 Ultra in surrounding with medium to high light source. Also, the color contrast is more vivid in iPhone 15 Pro Max than that of S23 Ultra, where sometimes the phone oversaturates. However, the HDR10 in Samsung S23 Ultra is great and better than that of iPhone. iPhone again gets an advantage in the aspect of smoothness or fluidity. Even though the Samsung has improved S23 a lot in smoothness, it still needs to be improved to beat iPhone. iPhone also takes it in frame drop performance. iPhone is near perfect in video playback, however some mismatching can be seen in games. iPhone also has a better response time than that of Samsung by few milliseconds. Apple seemed to put a lot of emphasis on screens, and honestly it has paid off as Apple takes the point for this display. Don't forget we didn't mention the symmetrical and thin bezels of iPhone. Also about the curved screen, which is the reason the S23 Ultra can camouflage itself in the surroundings. Next up we have battery. The iPhone 15 Pro Max has 4,441 mAh battery, while the S23 Ultra has a 5,000 mAh battery. Even though the S23 Ultra has a larger battery, the 15 Pro Max has better battery life. Apple is known for its crazy long battery life of almost all of its products. This iPhone 15 Pro Max is managing this because of its optimization of software, and also the A17 Pro Bionic chip is more efficient because it's a 3nm chip. This is definitely a point to Apple. Next up, charging. The S23 Ultra has 45W charging capabilities, 20W of the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But the difference is helped by the fact that the battery is smaller, which means even if the speeds are double the time is not too bad. However, iPhone 15 Pro Max lacks features like wireless reverse charging, so this point goes to the Samsung S23 Ultra. Operating system is the next topic. Welcome to the age-old question: iOS or Android? Android is benefited by its customizability and its open-source nature. However, in 2023, even though it's hard to pick a winner, there is obvious progress for Apple in terms of customizability. Apple now has some great customizability feature which it was lacking early. In 2023, the gap in the section of customizability is becoming less. These all can be attributed toward the way Apple has done the iOS 17, which might be best iOS update. Also, the fact many people are now switching towards Apple products has made iOS even stronger. Apple has created a genius strategy in which existing Apple users are satisfied with the apps and device connectivity they have, and improve the ecosystem and apps present in iOS to keep them in the iOS family and make other people join by making their apps available for other platforms, but in other platforms it is much worse. This makes these people switch to Apple. So more people using Apple products means more people use apps like iMessage, AirDrop and many more, which would attract others to join the iOS family. Apple is also rated as a very safe operating system, and even safer than Android by McAfee. Also, inclusion of fun and convenient features which improve the experience all the way. This topic has given us the idea to create video about the features introduced by Apple in iOS 17. Subscribe and click the bell icon to see the video when it drops. Feature like standby and the FaceTime animation just makes me realize iOS in 2023 has features which are not present in Android, and also features which are implemented better than Samsung. Apple way of adding features late and very polished is definitely working. This point goes to iOS and iPhone 15 Pro Max. Next up, we got ecosystem. Now many Android users does get upset when Apple users keep on talking about their ecosystem. However, it is important when you have many devices. It is just the hassle-free way in which these devices connect make Apple ecosystem great. Now with iOS 17 features like AirDrop, in which by bringing two iPhones together will help in easy sharing of information. The ecosystem for iPhone has always been great and Apple is trying to make it better. Samsung does also have an ecosystem, but it is not as fluid and hassle-free like that of iPhones. The seamless connection between Apple devices is very secure and reliable. Samsung's ecosystem is not bad, but it isn't as good as Apple's ecosystem. Apple most probably has the best ecosystem than any other company. This point goes to Apple and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Next up, probably the most anticipated part of the video, the camera. We will divide this category into photo and video to find a more definite winner. Samsung S23 Ultra has a 200MP primary camera and a 12MP ultra-wide camera with two telephoto lenses each, which 10MP camera. Apple has a 48MP primary camera with a 12MP ultra-wide camera and one 12MP telephoto camera. iPhone 15 Pro Max has a few tricks up sleeve, like now it gets depth information using which you can change an image into portrait even after taking it. This is super convenient, as now you can take a photo and worry less about the setting the modes and deal it later, saving you a lot of time. Also, the iPhone 15 Pro Max takes photos in 24MP compared to 12MP of the Samsung, which means the photos taken on iPhone is more detailed than that of Samsung. In nighttime without night mode the photos are very similar, however when the complexity of the image increases the advantage to iPhone increases, as now there is more detail for the iPhone to capture. When the night mode is turned on, still the photonic engine of Apple is helping it to take images which are better than Samsung. The photonic engine helps the 15 Pro Max capture images with more detail and make the color in the image look the way they should. This means that at night iPhone takes better images. In daytime the difference is even bigger, as the 24MP image taken by the iPhone just has much more detail than the 12MP images taken by the S23 Ultra. This difference means that the grass in the background looks better or a person's hair look more detailed. The iPhone 15 Pro Max is definitely better than the S23 Ultra in daytime photos. We hope that Samsung can also take 24MP photos in their next flagship. Now, to be clear, the Samsung S23 Ultra can take 200MP photos, but the condition while taking the photo should be perfect. Any low light and the photo is ruined. Even at 200MP, the iPhone also has a 48MP camera which does not miss much detail compared to Samsung, and the iPhone's camera get better in low light. The 200MP camera of Samsung takes ton of time to capture the image and also a lot of to process the image. The default camera of the Samsung is 12MP and the iPhone is 24MP. Now in 2023, zoom is a complicated topic. The maximum optical zoom is 5x for iPhone and 10x for the Samsung. The 25x for iPhone and 100x for Samsung is digital zoom, which has a definite quality hit. The Samsung performs better between 3x and 5x zoom, however after the 5x zoom camera for Apple kicks in, the Apple takes over till the 10x zoom camera kicks for Samsung. Now, considering all of this, the iPhone 15 Pro Max takes the point for photos. Now on to videos. This is an area where Apple has been dominating for a long time and they are still dominating. The iPhone's video capability is the combination with the video quality and the audio quality which make the iPhone's video look high quality. The Samsung video is not bad at daytime, but it still doesn't match the iPhone's video. At nighttime the difference is even bigger. The iPhone 15 Pro Max just destroys the Samsung S23 Ultra at this aspect. The grain in S23 Ultra just makes the videos look bad and it cannot control noise as well. That is not the case for the iPhone, as the A17 Pro Bionic chip helps the iPhone to manage an extra layer of noise, which means there is less grain in the video. This is one of the biggest aspects in which Samsung have to improve their next flagship device. On the aspect of zoom, at daytime both phones are very similar, but at nighttime the Samsung has a lot of grain which affects the video quality. So even between the 3x to 5x range where Samsung took better images than iPhone, were getting dominated by the iPhone's video capability. The grain is too severe that even when the 10x zoom of Samsung kicked in, it could not match the video quality of iPhone. The point for video quality goes to iPhone. Next up we got build quality. The iPhone 15 Pro Max when launched had some durability concerns, but Apple has fixed all the issues. The overall build of these two phones are very good. The iPhone is lighter as it is made up of titanium. The difference is still few grams. The iPhone is more comfortable to hold because of its curved edges compared to the squared-off edges of S23. The titanium gets a bit of fingerprint, however the brushed titanium of the 15 Pro Max feels slightly premium than the aluminum frame of Samsung. Next up we have speaker, which is very close between these two, however the mids and highs of the iPhone is superb while the S23 Ultra slightly lacks the mids and bass of the iPhone, which means the iPhone gets a point in this section. Price is also a very close one. Both these phones launched with similar prices by the manufacturer, however iPhone is usually sold at higher price than that and it is more expensive in some countries like India, and S23 lineup has some low-end phones also which are cheaper than that of iPhone 15 lineup. This category is taken by Samsung. So the final score is 10 points for the iPhone 15 Pro Max and 4 points for the S23 Ultra. Which means iPhone 15 Pro Max has won the battle, but remember, buying these phones should be based on personal preference. It is fascinating how these phones are launched 6 months apart, so we can't compare them properly. However, we must accept 15 Pro Max has taken the crown for best phone of 2023, but to put this claim to the test we must compare the 15 Pro Max with the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Subscribe to the channel to get notified when that video drops. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.